Reading 115 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll. Volume 3. Great Animal House, April 3rd, 1948. The Work Conception of Energy. The work says every psychic act takes energy. Each center uses its own energy. Each center has two small accumulators connected with it. If these become run down, the center has no further energy. If your centers all run down, you can enjoy nothing. You must understand, said Gurdjieff, one feature of the organization of the human machine. A very important role is played by a certain kind of accumulator. There are two small accumulators near each center, filled with the particular substance necessary for the work of the given center. In addition, there is in the organism a large accumulator which feeds the small ones. The small accumulators are connected together, and further, each of them is connected with the center next to which it stands, as well as to the large accumulator. Accumulators work in the following way. Let us suppose a man is working or is reading a difficult book and trying to understand it, in which case several roles revolve in the thinking center or apparatus in his head. Or let us suppose that he is walking up a hill and is getting tired, in which case the roles revolve in the moving center. In the first instance, the intellectual center, and in the second, the moving center, draws the necessary energy for its work from one of the small accumulators. When an accumulator is nearly empty, a man feels tired. He would like to stop, to sit down if he is walking, or to think of something else if he is solving a difficult problem. But quite unexpectedly, he feels an inflowing of strength, and he is once more able to walk or to work. This means that that center has become connected with the second accumulator and is taking energy from it. Meanwhile, the first accumulator is refilling with energy from the large accumulator. The work of the centers goes on. The man continues to walk or to work. Sometimes a short rest is necessary to ensure this connection. Sometimes a shock, sometimes an effort. Anyway, the work goes on. After a certain time, the store of energy in the second accumulator also becomes exhausted. The man again feels tired. Again, an external shock, or a short rest, or a cigarette, or an effort, and he is connected with the first accumulator. But it may easily happen that the center has drawn energy from the second accumulator so quickly that the first one has had no time to refill itself from the large accumulator, and has taken only half the energy it can hold. It is only half full. Having become reconnected with the first accumulator, the center begins to draw energy from it, while the second accumulator becomes connected with and draws energy from the large accumulator. But this time, the first accumulator is only half full. The center quickly exhausts its energy, and in the meantime, the second accumulator has succeeded in becoming only a quarter full. The center becomes connected with it, swiftly exhausts all its energy, and connects once more with the first accumulator, and so on. After a certain time, the organism is brought to such a state that neither of the small accumulators has a drop of energy left. This time, the man feels really tired. He almost falls down. He almost drops asleep, or else his organism becomes affected. He starts a headache, palpitations begin, or he feels sick. Then suddenly again, a short rest, or an external shock, or an effort brings back a new flow of energy, and the man is once more able to think, to walk, or to work. This means that the center has become connected directly to the large accumulator. The large accumulator contains an enormous amount of energy. Connected with the large accumulator, a man is literally able to perform miracles. But of course, if the roles continue to turn, and energy which is made from air, food, and impressions continues to pour out of the large accumulator faster than it pours in, then there comes a moment when the large accumulator is drained of all energy and the organism dies. Commentary. The point that I want to emphasize in this commentary is that every psychic act uses up energy. Faced with the external world of events via the five senses, every reaction to what is seen, heard, touched, smelt, or tasted takes energy. This specific energy is soon exhausted. If you go on smelling a rose, you cannot smell it anymore. Why? The smelling of a rose exhausts a specific psychic energy. If you wish to enjoy parties after a time, you cannot bear them. Why? The specific energies for enjoying parties are exhausted. A long time ago, that is to me, yesterday, I spent 2 years of training in rowing. I heard then, or overheard, my wise, immense, and muscular pundits talking about how to train the Cambridge boat. The idea was to row them all out every day until they were exhausted. That is, the specific energies of the centers required for rowing were each day exhausted. Later on, even in my time, another doctrine was brought forward, namely, to rest these particular energies and let other things in, that is, other interests, and then get down once more to the task in hand. The trouble, I understood, was that the crew became stale. Now, what does stale mean? From the work teaching, it means that certain accumulators connected with centers, or parts of centers, are exhausted. Yes, but it is possible to use other centers which are fresh. Everything you do, whether you row, or think, or enjoy parties, uses psychic energy. Is this very difficult to understand? It is difficult as long as you do not see that your contact with the external world of events is a psychic one. You think about something you see. This is psychic. Yes, but the seeing of a thing is psychic. That is, uses some energy that is psychic. Love is psychic. It employs an energy belonging to the emotional center. All the centers use psychic energy, even moving center. The psychic energies the centers use are hydrogen 48, hydrogen 24, and hydrogen 12. These energies are not things you can see with your outer senses, but experiences within yourself. You are full of beans. Excellent. You have a good time on shore. Then you feel awful. Of course, but why? The psychic energies whereby you combine or make contact with outer events, such as wine, women, and song, or danger, risk, and pain, are exhausted, and no more can wine, women, or song, danger, risk, or pain get a response from you. Your response power is exhausted. That is, your psychic power of combining with external impressions has gone. Gurdjieff once said, "A man must have sodium in him to combine with the chlorine of life. Then he can make sodium chloride, which is a salt. But if he has nothing in him to combine with life, he cannot make this salt." The point we have to understand is that everything we experience, and all experience is psychically in ourselves, takes psychic energy. And if we are temporarily exhausted of psychic energy, we can take in nothing and so make no contact with outer life. A man, a woman, lying in bed almost dead with illness cannot take in anything from outer life. Why? There is no psychic energy left. It would be possible to talk a great deal about psychic energy, provided you understand what is meant. People do not see that their powers of combining with any outer event, a football match, a party, a novel, a play, a book, a man, a woman, depend on the psychic energies one has. Imagine a complete depletion of all centers. Then you can go to theaters, go to parties, and so on, and feel nothing interesting. So do you see that your contact with life depends on psychic energies? If your intellectual center has energy, you can read, study, and take in. If not, you cannot. If your emotional center is exhausted, you can feel nothing. If your sex center is depleted, you cannot feel sex. If moving center is exhausted, you can hardly bother to pick up a thing you drop on the floor. And all this is not due to outer things, but to inner things. That is, to the states of centers and parts of centers in regard to the psychic energy supplying them. Each center and each part of a center is like an engine, which, having no petrol, cannot turn. Now let us speak of different energies. The work says no amount of physical or mechanical energy will make vital energy. No amount of vital energy will make psychic energy. And no amount of psychic energy will make conscious energy. So we can give Mr. Ouspensky's diagram about this point. In speaking of this, he said, "It is like this. A line is one-dimensional. No extension of this line will make a surface. Only by this line moving sideways will it make a surface. And no increasing of this surface will make a cube, unless the surface moves up into another dimension." Now, we can understand at least from these illustrations that mechanical energy, such as heat, will not make vital energy. No heat will make life. It may help life, but it is not life energy. And you may have a gorilla full of vital energy and expand him to 1,000 times his size, but that will not make psychic energy, such as the energy of intellectual center. But now comes the curious point. No amount of psychic energy, say intellectual energy, will make a man more conscious. The work says that the energy belonging to consciousness is not psychic energy. It says that for a man to evolve in himself, he must become more conscious, and that is only possible by a special effort, a special shock. The energy, called consciousness, is on another plane to what the psychic energies working the centers are on. Consciousness, said Gurdjieff, does not evolve by itself. A man can, if he wishes and knows how, increase consciousness, but by thinking he cannot do so. And this remark of Gurdjieff reminds me of Christ's words. A man, by taking thought, cannot add a cubit to his stature. Now let us come to the practical side of this commentary. In the first place, if you are tired in one center, use another one. If you are tired of thinking, then go and mow the lawn. Why? Because moving center has energy and intellectual center has not. In the second place, consider how negative emotions, negative thoughts, envies, malices, queer motives that are unpleasant, hatreds, resentments, drearinesses, and all the rest take force from you. Why? Because they are psychic activities belonging to your psychology. When you review this idea from a certain level of consciousness, that is, free to everyone to gain in this work, you will have a further reason for not wasting your inner life, which depends on the existence of psychic forces in you, on useless practices. The psychic energies you waste in such activities, such as always pitying yourself, or always envying, always saying you are no good at thinking, or no good at anything you have never even tried to do, or in saying that you hate or dislike everyone, except your darling and infamous self. And in fact, everything the work teaches you to avoid, to struggle with, and not identify with, I say that these useless psychic activities, these useless expenditures of psychic energy, will strike you as being not merely a daily nuisance, but a sign of an inability to understand yourself more objectively and not identify with your typical reactions, which is the whole aim of the work. Remember that all such useless psychic expenditure is not lost in this closed economical system called the universe, but is used for another purpose, and not to your advantage, by the way. But when you realize that if you waste your limited psychic energies all your life on such things as identifying, internal considering, making accounts against others, being negative with almost everyone you meet, self-justifying, oh yes, I am always right, hating, disliking everyone and everything as a habit, criticizing everyone but yourself, being superior, especially without knowing it, attributing to yourself things such as love that have nothing to do with you and which you cannot command, and all the rest of what the work is telling you every day to observe, then if you will waste the very soul and substance of yourself that can lead you to your real self in such useless and certainly widespread activities, you will not quite see what is being taught here and what that rope means in the work parable that you can catch hold of. For to begin to see the meaning of the quite gentle teaching of the work, and so of that rope, is, I have been told, the beginning of another understanding of life and of your own life.